Hello, everyone.
Hello,
We are
hello.
live, finally. Few technical issues there, but we finally got there. So, Ash, we're used to recording these things and then uploading them later. And especially if
Yeah,
we muck up, we can just sort of polish it up later in post production and send it up there. But not today.
not
It's going to
today,
be
my friend.
absolutely live and, well, authentic. Let's go with that. So, what have we got? We got three people watching, five people watching. Wow.
Hey
Okay,
guys,
so
so excited to have you with us. Thank you for joining us today.
absolutely. And remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, which I think is the only place we're streaming, post some comments if you have any questions. We'll look at answering them live for you. So, 52 episodes. This is
Yeah,
52 weeks,
it's really
52 episodes.
amazing, isn't it? Like to think that we have put out an episode. The thing that blows my mind the most is when if we didn't have anything else happening in our world, I think it would still be impressive that we've we've managed to put out a brand new episode every
Mm.
single week. But when you look, like when you zoom out, I don't think we really share too much about I mean, we share a lot about our lives, but like what our lives
Mm.
actually look like, like
Well, we share all
I've
about
got,
healing journey,
yeah, we share
not
about our
nec-
healing journey,
not necessarily directly our lives. So yeah,
but what does our life look like, right? So when we think about we've both got two kids with that come with additional challenges, and
mm.
we've got co-parenting, and we've got businesses that we run, and lots of work to do, and our lives are hectic. And I think I have had the most travel in the last 12 months than I've ever had. So if we go into lessons learned, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it takes a lot of resilience and it takes a lot of preparation and planning, because life gets busy and messy and we're interrupted in our schedule. So that's huge. I'm
Yeah,
so
because
proud.
I've got to say, yeah, there's been some weeks where just not wanted to show up.
Yeah.
And I suppose how we kept on top of that was we would sort of, I suppose, I wouldn't say bulk record, but where we have capacity or there's like a real theme that we want to deep
Mm.
dive in, we'll actually record like a couple in one week and then maybe not record because we don't record every week because we record, I
Life.
think, so, well, I mean, life, yeah. So every
Yeah.
second Wednesday, roughly, is sort of when we record. And and then sometimes we'll go pretty hard, especially like when you went on holidays. We
Yeah. I was
recorded, pre
away. I was
recorded.
literally overseas for 5 weeks. And so I think we had to have, I think we were about 6 or 7 episodes ahead at one stage, which is
Mm,
amazing.
and
I
we're
can't
talking
believe we
about
pulled it off,
Christmas.
Dave. It
Yeah.
blows my mind. Um, Something that really comes to me is in the early stages, sometimes it can feel like a bit of a thankless task, especially if, you're not getting those external sources of validation, and you're not getting likes on videos, or you're not getting feedback, or views might be low, or our follower count is still pretty low, or
Mm,
whatever. And so really huge one for me is thinking about our why. Like, if we didn't know and have a deep connection and commitment to our why are we doing this, then I think our motivation would have waned, and this probably would have fallen to the wayside. And, I know that there are some people who do reach out and say, oh my gosh, this episode blew my mind, or oh my
mm.
gosh, you're literally saving me thousands of dollars in therapy, or whatever it might be. But for
You're
me,
welcome.
if we were just doing it for that external validation, we never would be here today. And
Well, yeah.
I've got goosebumps
Well,
talking
I
about this.
go if we go back 18 months ago. So we started talking about this probably 6 months out before we started doing it. Because I think the first episode launched like mid April, Even I was looking at that going mid-April to now, early April, we've got 52 episodes. Apparently, guys, it's a year. We've done the counting. It's 52. Um, but
Well, next week will be our first. It would be the equivalent of episode 1 again, right?
right, okay. So this is
Yeah.
like the tail end of it.
Yes.
But the whole idea behind it was, well, coming back to the why, is simply as you and I, when we met, there was some sort of chemistry that was going on, some sort of
Yes.
connection. There was some relatability around understanding the healing journey and how difficult it is, but how necessary and beautiful it can be as well.
Yeah.
And it was then, okay, well, how about we maybe think about putting something out there, because a lot of people are hurting.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about, okay, well, let's do it together. This is how we can do it, blah, 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 blah. And I think it was it's at that point in time you were going from full-time job lecturing into
Yeah.
the brand new Remind Institute, going solo. So it was almost serendipitous as well.
Yeah.
Like the synchronicities were clearly there as well.
100%.
And then we sort of thought, well, let's flesh it out. Why are we doing it? Well, and I think I used the terminology back then, it's to give people a holding pattern in the sky. If you're thinking airplanes, since you've been traveling so much, so give them a holding pattern until they can land safely into someone, like a therapist or a psychologist or something like that, to be able to go from there. Now, whether that's they want to take up, some of the services that's offered by the Remind Institute, like the Rise and Thrive and stuff like that, or whether it's something else. And I remember sort of thinking then, what about, subscribers and followers and all of that? Well, I tell you what, the idea I had in my mind versus what we have now, much less. Like we've got a lot less. So it's when we spoke about what's kind of the payback, the payback was simply doing it. It wasn't necessarily about
it
the
literally is like
followers.
divine service, isn't it?
Yeah.
Divine service to humanity. And for me, I look at that and go, Dave, when you and I, you mentioned sort of chemistry, and when you and I would get together and have these really deep conversations, it's like we had this capacity to lay our souls out in front of each other and just witness each other and help each other to go deeper. And there were so many times we would have these epic, deep conversations about things. And I was like, oh my gosh, if only that was recorded, because that could really help someone. And it's almost like we process out loud and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is, not everyone in my life has the capacity to take me so deep and to prompt me on things to get me to explore myself more. And when you offer me that safe space to be witnessed and to be seen and heard in all of my mess and all of my journey and all of my celebrations and all of the little, like, I'm even thinking back to the episode we did on gaming, like gaming addiction and kids. And I just love that you were able to show me a different way of looking at something that my mind had been closed to. And that's my hope. Like, that's why I show up and do this, because I want to, when I think about expanding consciousness, expanding people's consciousness is about opening their minds and supporting them to see the unseen in their lives. And when we do that, it elevates our potential. It moves us closer to the fullness of our purpose and potential. And sort of just like those little 1 or 2 degree shifts in, oh my gosh, I joined that dot, or oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, or I understand myself better now. My relationship with myself is so much richer and safer and more gentle and nurturing. And so I see this as supporting people on their healing journey, but it's also been pretty instrumental in my own growth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd agree 100%, because what we're talking about, it's not pre-scripted. Like when we come up with our themes,
never, ever, ever.
When we come up with our titles, it's based on, okay, how are you feeling? What's going on in your life?
Yeah.
And then
what's coming up for us? Because sometimes the universe gives us patterns. We'll be triggered by the same thing 3 times in a week, or we'll see the same things coming up. or both of our kids will be going through the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
We're like, what is going on at the moment? We need to talk about this. And then we'll start this conversation like, this is what's happening in my world right now. And we're like, wait, stop talking. Because if we go there now, we won't be able to do it in the episode. So we literally just press record and then we have our rich conversation.
We have to go, stop.
Completely raw, right?
Because otherwise we're just talking. But the interesting thing about that, it's easy. Well, I suppose it feels easier because you don't need to pre-plan a lot of things. But the hard bit about doing that, and especially for us, because there's this ego, especially still within me, that's sort of like when I'm on here, I kind of need to be the expert. I kind of need to have it all together. There has to be this persona, because if I'm losing my crap, then I'm no good to anyone. However, that's waned. And so, and especially there's been some episodes where we've shown up, even because the last thing you want to do if something's really bugging you and really triggering you, and you don't want to do something about it, you don't want to talk about it. When you want to bury your head,
you want to talk about it once it's all neatly processed.
Exactly. And then it's all like, well, we'll talk about the podcast, and that all sounds really great. As opposed to, here it is, I'm feeling all of that, because, man, if you don't have to be completely healed to help someone, because we get a lot of information individually. Take what resonates, leave everything else behind. So it doesn't really matter where and how it came from, whether it be from someone registered or off TikTok. If it hits a chord within you, that message is for you. And so, but I'm coming back to that point, that sort of, it's really cool because you don't have to do so much prep at the start. We just sort of jump on, hey, how you going? Unless there's a real theme that sort of comes up. And then we go, this is what I'm feeling. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. No. Well, also, because we do, I mean, it's not that we don't prepare at all. There is preparation that goes into it. We have a whole entire board of ideas that people will suggest to us, or I'll be seeing themes, even just on Facebook groups where the same question's being asked again and again, or whatever it might be. So we have a board of episode ideas, right? And we might even try and schedule them ahead of time. But then when we show up to record, we look at that theme. And the thing for me has been really leaning into adaptability and flexibility and surrender, and going, okay, I know that we planned to record this, but intuitively and in my body, I don't feel in alignment with that topic today. And I'm not in the frequency of recording that. This is where I need to go today. And often we find ourselves in pretty big alignment, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens most of the time, but there might be some times where it's sort of like, we got to push each other just that little bit. Do you want to record?
Yeah.
No. Can you record? Oh,
yeah.
Don't ask me that, because the answer is yes, I can, but I don't want to. I don't want to talk about this. I want Netflix and Uber Eats. Thank you very much. So, but some of the stuff that comes out has been brilliant. I've just opened up our statistics on YouTube to kind of look at what was I suppose the most popular video based on views. And so the one that you did on the 5 minutes to come back to your body, that's the one that's got the most hits on it. Which is really cool.
That makes me happy, because that's life-changing. Seriously, if people just did that one thing every single day, it will start to change your life. That's really cool.
And if you haven't seen it before, it's on there. It says Disregulated Stress, spend 5 minutes to come back. And it's a 5-minute video that's taken out of the Rise and Thrive to just close your eyes, go through it. Now, the next most popular one has been episode 1, Get to Know Us. Apparently that was a pretty popular episode. I thoroughly enjoyed that, even though I had lots of nerves back then. And I remember as well, the one thing is, even though I had a microphone sitting right next to me, the audio wasn't going through that. It was going through a different webcam. So the first one that came out,
Ah,
I had rubbish
don't get
audio.
me started on microphone issues.
Don't get Ash started on audio.
Oh my gosh. I have
It's
literally spent probably $1,000 on microphones in the last 12 months, and my audio quality just, it did improve. I
it
have to
has
say, my
improved.
audio
Yes.
quality has improved, but I'm still not happy with it.
Yeah.
And
And
that was another
eventually,
lesson for me, has been
event.
surrendering to perfection. Because
Yeah.
if I let the barrier to showing up and helping people and supporting them in changing their lives, if I let the barrier be, oh, but I don't like my microphone, and use that as the excuse as to why I didn't show up, which I absolutely could, and people would do that,
Mm,
then I am actually robbing our listeners.
mm. Well, it's also letting the fear of, or the whatever it is that's coming up to sort of say, I don't sound good enough. I
Yes.
what I'm sounding like is not good enough for this, so therefore I'm simply not going to say anything at all.
Yeah. There's a
Versus,
big lesson in like finding our voice in that, isn't it? Like even what you were saying, if you were super nervous to begin with, how much more
mm,
natural and easy does it feel to just press record and go now? And
oh,
I feel like there's so many lessons in this, because
mm,
every
mm,
person who's watching, whether you're with us live or whether you're watching the recording or the replay, there are things that you're going to want to do. There are goals that you're going to want to achieve. And when you first start, it's going to be clunky. You're going to be
mm,
like the baby lamb that's just been born and can't find its legs. And I
mm.
really think that at the start we were like that. Remember how I used to run around my house going, oh, what's my background going to be like? And I'm going to sit
Yeah,
here, and oh, my bum hurts. I need to get
I
a
do
pillow. And
remember that. Yep, and having to change your background
oh my gosh.
in the same day because we're recording two different
Multiple
videos, so we wanted to
things.
look like it was different.
Yes. And so now we literally sit down, press record, and go. And I feel no nerves in my body. I feel it's
Mm,
so easy, it's so natural. And you're the same. It just got easier and easier and easier and easier. So I guess that's a huge learning that can be applicable to anyone listening, is whatever the thing is that scares you or freaks you out a little bit, it's going to feel clunky and it's going to feel like maybe scary to begin with. But
oh yeah.
lean into that. It gets easier. The more you do it, the more familiar it feels. And the more familiar it feels, the easier it gets.
Well, and I guess they just sort of know that if there's a little bit of a barrier, being that I'll only do it once I'm perfect. Well, what is it that's
Mm.
triggering you in that moment? Because the
What are you
first
trying to
time you do
avoid?
something, yeah, the first time you do something, you're not going to be good at it, especially if you're up against someone who's been doing it for a long time. And
Yeah.
I've been following a new YouTuber called Matt Armstrong. He's in the UK, and he takes.
Wait, what? Do you watch other YouTube channels apart from ours?
Uh, I I hate to break it to you guys live, but yes, I do. The whole reason
Rude.
I knew of YouTube was not because of this, but this guy in the UK, he will take
Mm.
broken cars, completely
Yeah.
bashed and damaged, and then he will fix them up. And progressively, he's gone into more and more and more exotic cars. And he has this saying, and I love it. It's hard work beats talent. And I went, wow.
Yeah, I love
Because
that.
it's sort of like, could you imagine if you only did the things you were talented at? Talk
Yeah.
about you stuck in your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. Do you know,
Uh,
that is, I just had a huge revelation, Dave, because, I started this running journey, right? So I signed up for this
mm,
half marathon. It's in October. Running, I have never had any innate interest, desire, talent, nothing when it comes to running. I
mm,
grew up racing BMX. I was very natural on a bike. It was easy for me. Even though I would put in the hard work and I would do the training, it felt comfortable because it came naturally to me. I was more comfortable on a bike than I was on my own 2 feet. And I've achieved some pretty big things in my life.
mm,
And like even doing my PhD, right? That was hard work,
mm,
but I am naturally gifted when it comes to academics. It comes
Gotcha.
naturally to me. I learn well, all that, right? And I said to my husband the other day, I go, this is going to sound weird, but running for 2 minutes straight is like, it challenges me more than anything else in my whole life has. And I know that this journey towards a half marathon is going to be that thing for me because it's the
Mm,
talent versus hard work thing. It's something that I'm not necessarily talented in and it doesn't come naturally to me. And it feels like a grind every time I have to show up and do it. And it challenges me because I feel like a failure,
mm.
but knowing I'm not because I'm still showing up. And I love that because that I just had serious fireworks in my brain just then because it's like that's what it is. It's the hard work on the things you're not talented at, but you
Hard work beats
continue
talent.
to persist. Yeah, you
Yeah,
persist and you
talent.
show up and you develop grit and
How do you get
oh,
from, yeah, so like when you look at, you know, talent's in your comfort zone, which is
mm,
incredible. And so when you look at it being in your comfort zone, how the hell are you going to get out of your comfort zone if you're not, if you, well, you never get out of there. So I love that. And I think there's something where, yes, to be able to start on this, we've had to push. This hasn't
yeah.
always been comfortable. But we've got a comment from Jackie. Actually, probably a
Thank you,
question.
Jackie.
Yeah, much appreciated. I can feel the authenticity in both of you. Well, thank you. When you guys chat, and Dave, you're the greatest active listener I've ever seen. Well, I appreciate that. What do you find has been one of the things you have taught each other?
Oh, I love this question. I need to just drop into my heart and feel into that. Um,
Well, I can start if you like.
yeah, go.
I'm locked and loaded because I'm a good active listener. The every time, and here's the thing: what have you taught me? It's been the times that I haven't liked what you've had to say that's really taught me, and it's normally about something I'm going through that I don't want
Mm,
to hear. You know, the sort of the victim mindset. And one of my biggest things has been about being lonely, but not necessarily being lonely with people, but being lonely with a specific partner in my life.
yeah.
And the way you would ask questions around how can you feel lonely without that one person, or you've got all of this around you, but you're sort of blanking it out because of that one thing. It's been able to, in a really nice way, poke the victim within me
Yeah.
to kind of let me know it's there, to be able to sort of go, because otherwise for me the victim comes out, but it's normal, it's common, it's what I expect, it's what I feel,
Yeah.
we don't need to talk any more about it. But when it's sort of I'm being brought into the, well, how could you feel lonely, or how do you think you could find a way of being lonely without that particular role in your life? And
Mm,
then at that point in time, the victim goes, but it's unfair, I have to. And then it's brought to me, then I have to do something about it.
yeah.
As opposed to, gee, David, that sucks.
Yeah. So, wow. I
And
love
so,
that.
so it's that one, and being able to practice, because it has to be a practice for me, of being vulnerable,
Yeah.
because I've got this persona, or especially in my previous life, I had to have my shit together, so that, because if people around me didn't have my shit together, why would you go to someone who hasn't got their shit together for help?
Yeah.
But also knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable. You can
Yeah.
be vulnerable and be strong at the same time. It doesn't, they're
Yeah.
not mutually exclusive, which has been a massive part of my journey. And so you also pick at that when sometimes the old I can do anything kind of guy, I won't talk about my problems, I'll just talk about other people's problems, that guy wants to sort of rear
Yes.
its head every now and again.
That's amazing. Thanks, Dave. I love that. I love that we get to play that role for each other. I think for me, you have helped me to be challenged and have my mind opened in a way that doesn't feel threatening. And it just is from curiosity and connection. And I think because you are so present in our conversations, I feel very safe to have to be questioned or to be misunderstood. I think a big one for me is I can feel very threatened if someone doesn't understand what I'm trying to communicate, and I get
Ah,
quite activated by that. So
gotcha.
having safety around that. But honestly, another really big one is surrendering control, because this has been huge. This is going to sound funny, right? So you mentioned before about when we started this, it was at a really significant time in my life where I was walking away from a 12-year career of academia and teaching and research, and stepping into something that I was being called to, but felt not equipped for. And that was Remind Institute. And I've got goosebumps because this is really big for me. We ordered these t-shirts. One got delivered to you. You put that t-shirt on, and it felt really vulnerable for me to share something that the version of me from my past wanted to control and wanted to make sure, because I always felt that if I could control things, it was safe. And in this podcast, the role that you play, I had to put my trust in you, which was so challenging for me initially. I handed over basically all creative license to you. I handed over everything, the way that I'm portrayed to the world is in your hands, because you do the post-production.
Especially the intros.
I can feel emotion coming up, because it has been, and we've never had this conversation. I love that Jackie asked this question, because it forced me to really go into my heart and explore what was really there, because it's really vulnerable for me. And a huge learning that I've been on, that Remind has taken me on, has been it's not mine. It's been entrusted to me, and I am the custodian of it. I'm the one who's called to steward Remind and the impact that we're meant to have in the world. But it's not mine. And you were the first person who came along with me and said, I'm with you on this mission. I'm with you on what we are going to achieve as Remind. And it's taken time over the last year for me to feel safe enough to surrender control of other parts. And the really cool thing about that is I remember when I was starting that journey of preparing and equipping to surrender control to other parts and bringing some order and some scalability into Remind. So doing SOPs and understanding what are our processes, where are we putting our files, how do we do this, how do we do that? And I remember when I asked you to, document some stuff, that brought something up for you.
The post-production,
and we were able to communicate that, and you were able to say, this really triggered me, because I felt like if I put this down, then I wasn't,
where's my value?
It could just, it could just be taken off me, or where's my value? So, oh my goodness, what an amazing question. I literally have goosebumps on my face. Because literally on my cheeks, I can feel goosebumps on my cheeks, because that is such a big reflection moment to go, you have been on this journey that I've been walking, where I'm learning to trust people with the things that I care about the most.
Because when we started, it was, it's massive, and a great question, Jackie. Great question.
You made me cry, Jackie. Because Remind isn't work for me. It's not a job for me. It's not a business for me. It's a mission. It's a purpose. We're here to make a difference in the world. And I really believe in it. And I'm bringing people around me to partner with me so that we can make an impact in the world. And that, to let go of that and let go of control of that and surrender and lean into faith and trusting people that it's okay. Even if they make mistakes, it's okay. We can learn and we can grow and evolve. And yeah, that's amazing.
Because I remember, and you think about when we talk about it all being very synchronous, right? It's like the time I came and said to you, like, I want to do a podcast and I love the stuff that you talk about. Let's do something.
Yeah.
It just so happens you were moving into this area. And the reason why it became the Remind podcast was because we're going to have to create a brand for our podcast anyway. Yeah. And so it kind of just made sense to then put it in with what you're doing with the branding wise. And it's just gone from there. And so and that's kind of the reason why we've got that. So but yeah, the whole thing around what value do we bring? Yeah, when you raised that about the post-production, I thought if I could control the post-production, I was more in control, as opposed to seeing my value in being co-host or, David from the Remind podcast. So bang, what a big one. And not stopping with the questions just yet. We've got another one from Jackie. Loving this, guys. And guys, if you've got questions, put it down here, and we'll answer it.
Yeah, come along with the ride with us.
What episode pulled out an unexpected emotion for you both? Well, I can answer on Ashley's behalf. It's today's episode.
It's today. Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't even remember the episodes that we've recorded. I would have to.
You don't
go
remember
back.
all 50? You don't remember all 52 of them? I've got to say, an unexpected emotion. Nothing sort of jumps out, but when I think of that question, the one I was most excited to talk about was the kids and gaming. That was the one that was like something that obviously that theme had been rattling around for me for quite a while. And my own journey in that was unexpected, especially coming from someone who never worries about gaming, never worries about all of that, thinks that, yes, people can make money out of it, but if it's taking away from your life, then just be better. That was my version of it. And that slowly softened into, okay, there's a whole lot more than getting in and involved. And as I said, I think I used the terminology in the episode, either learn how to fish or get in the water. Well, I got in the water. Yeah. And then sharing that and seeing the difference that it's been having with myself and my kids, nephews and nieces is incredible. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. But like, if I had to, like, I am going to check. I've still got all the episodes up on the side here. Actually, there was another one about kids, and I think there's something going on with me and kids that I'm drawn to. And I thought at the start of this whole journey for me, I'd be helping adults, but I'm finding that kids is something that I'm being drawn to, and so anything to do with sort of kids and helping parents and helping understand, because I know that as being both, I'm unique. I'm both an adult and a child, like most people in this world. But being able to sort of saddle that has been really good. But I can kind of feel that I'm being drawn to, most definitely, anything to do with kids and understanding that way is something that I just love talking about. How about you?
Awesome.
Anything sort of come up for you?
I'm sure there's been lots where emotion has come up for me. The only thing that is jumping out from an actual memory is talking on air about the challenges I went through with my connection with my daughter. That felt extremely vulnerable. And for a few reasons. One, there was a lot of I guess, in a way, fear of judgment, maybe,
From
around if
from your daughter or from other
no,
parents
no,
or
no, 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 from other people, because yeah, I don't know really. I'd have to sit with that a bit more. But so one, I definitely know there was a little bit of fear of judgment around what will people think if I say that I didn't feel a connection with my child when I work with parents and I work with connecting with your children and all that sort of stuff.
mm,
My daughter and I now have the most incredible connection and so much relational safety, and we have a beautiful relationship. I really struggled in the early years of her, well, it wasn't even early years of her life, but in my pregnancy and early on. And so talking about that and talking about the miscarriages I had experienced and all that sort of stuff definitely brought up emotion for me. And I guess the other thing that made that feel so vulnerable is I know that once we put this out, it's out. And my daughter now is 7, but when she's older, I really want to make sure that she feels my heart in when I shared that emotion, because I don't want her for a second to think that she wasn't loved or wasn't wanted. It hurt so much because she was so wanted. It was the
mm,
previous wounding I had experienced through like the miscarriages I had experienced, and like a self-preservation and a self-protection. If I
yeah,
don't connect to this baby, then I can't have my heart broken again.
wow,
And also because she's so similar to me and she mirrors to me the areas of myself that as a child I had disowned or were very
mm,
wounded. That was such a journey. Like, and I remember I still feel it in my body now talking about it. I remember that was a memorable episode. I can't even remember which one we talked about it in. It was maybe it was the one about kids mirroring us. I can't remember.
mm.
But yeah, it was memorable because it felt so exposed.
And that's a big part of it. Like when we do this show, right? We're here trying to help people, so we want to come across as people who are competent, at least in what we say. And
Yeah.
we're trying to come across as someone that's believable, someone that's trustworthy, someone who
Mhm.
just hit the headphones. So there's almost something that we project, that we want to project out there, which is that. But I think one thing that you're talking about that we've talked about separately is that we've also really wanted to show that it's not, you don't have to always have it together to be able
Yeah.
to help people. It's
Yeah,
like,
totally.
how many marriage counselors have you seen get divorces? How
Yep.
many psychologists actually do have a meltdown? Like
Yeah.
these things are okay. So it's about, for us being authentic with it, which I've got to say, challenging, very
It is.
challenging.
It is. Absolutely. And I also find that to be really empowering, because my hope is, like, if I look at the trajectory of my growth and my healing,
Mm.
I am light years ahead. I'm not even the same person. I don't recognize the thoughts. You know, Facebook memories, how they come up. I
Oh
scroll through
yeah,
them
yeah, yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
and I literally cannot even comprehend that I am me. I'm like, it's the same Facebook account as the person who was posting on it 10 years
Mm.
ago or 5 years ago, because my emotional state, my love of life, my connection to people around me, the relationships in my life, the friendships, the adventures I go on,
Mm.
it's so different. And so as I reflect, like if I zoom out and reflect on my growth, it's enormous. Except we live life zoomed in.
Yeah.
Our day to day life is not the zoomed out overall net trajectory of upwards.
Mm.
We live our life and we record in the trenches of day to day life. And the trenches of day to day life, today's my wedding anniversary, right? Happy wedding
Happy
anniversary, Nicole
anniversary.
and husband. Today's my wedding anniversary. And when I sit back, it's an opportunity for me to sit back
Mm.
and look at our relationship and go, oh my gosh, I appreciate this and I appreciate that. And I'm so grateful for this and I'm so grateful for that. But when I zoom in and I'm in the trenches of our relationship, sometimes I scream and I cry and I think this is so hard. And I want to normalize that, because if people only see the zoomed out version of, oh, everything's fine and dandy and rosy and perfect, well, that's not real. Life isn't like that all the time. But I feel like we have a pretty good balance of bringing our reality of the trenches and the perspective of the zoomed out. And I love that. I think that's really important for people, because something that I'm really big on is when I say to clients, I want to make sure you manage your expectations. It's not reasonable to expect that you never ever feel angry again, or you never ever experience feelings of anxiety again, because you're human. And when we zoom in to the trenches, that's the hard work. It's connecting to what we're experiencing. It's being present with the full experience of life, instead of, I don't know, zooming out all the time and having these
It reminds me, I can't remember what episode it was. It was you and I had slightly different versions of what we're fighting for.
Oh yes, yeah. What are you fighting for?
And so I think with what you're saying there, it's a difference between the zoomed out and zoomed in. There's in my world, there's what you're fighting for, which is the zoomed out version. I'm heading in this direction, versus what you're fighting with, which is the day to day in the trenches. Got to do this, got to do that. But I mean, everyone that's been following the journey, like, what were you doing a year ago? What's different to today that you were a year ago? So it's been a year. It's been like 52 episodes. So if we do this like in another year's time, we'll have 104 episodes. And hopefully by then we'll have 10 people watching the stream. Doubling our current count. And by the way, thank you guys for tuning in. If you could just give us a bit of a just tickle, or just tap the like button. Doesn't need to be hard, but if you just give it just that little, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, it really would be.
But
here's something that we didn't prepare for, and I'm totally putting us in the deep end here.
Oh, okay.
What do you foresee as the next year? What does the next year for us look like?
Jeez. Well, the first instinct is it's just going to be kind of going the way it's been going at the moment. But I certainly see that we probably need to do, so I want to bring some more people in, whether that be people that want to talk about specific experiences or topics, maybe some other,
maybe even listeners,
experts. Yeah. I mean, with all the questions that we're getting from Jackie, I think we've got our first, we've got our first listener that's going to come on the show. Jackie, just give us a thumbs up in the comments if you're on board.
Oh my gosh, how cool would it be to invite our listeners to come on live and actually, as a recorded episode, have them interview us, like put down every question you possibly have, and
easy.
That would be fun.
And we can absolutely do that. And so, most of the time when we pre-record, we're pre-recording in a sort of a lobby that we can then put the video up later. But this particular program, thanks to StreamYard, not sponsored, is we can have people coming in and out asking questions. It doesn't need to be always you and I sit and talk about a topic. I really do love that, and I think that's the foundation of what this has been built on. I'm in. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did say no thumbs up, but I mean, I think we'll take it with an I'm in, because I mean, all of our listeners will have some sort of experience that they're either working through, have worked through, or somewhere in between all of that.
Yeah, and that's interesting, isn't it?
And so look, anyone listening, if you're wanting to, let us know, reach out, and we'll make it happen. But I can definitely see that we've created a core, we'll say, catalog of topics that we've expressed our own views on. And then
That's
from
what I
here
was
on
going to
in,
say is building on the cataloging. So now that we have such a big library, actually starting to theme our ideas and have some playlists, where if someone is struggling in the area of parenting or wants to build in relationships, then we can have actual I don't know what they're called in YouTube. Is it playlists? Is it whatever it
yep,
is? But have
playlist, yeah.
grouping things and continuing to add value into those areas where people can go, and everything about relationships is there and everything about parenting is there. And even though it still allows us to be intuitive and creative and record what's on our heart at the time, bringing some structure, I think, is going to be awesome. Um, and another big one that's really on my heart is community. I want more community. So I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like, or if anyone has ideas, I'd love to hear from you. But I would love this to be an ever increasing reach and network of people committed to our purpose of expanding people's consciousness, supporting them to fulfill their potential, and bringing people along as part of that community with us. Because this is our continued journey, and I would love for people to be able to be a part of that
Yeah.
actively. I guess more actively is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at, and a more
Yeah.
active community.
Yeah, and I mean, we could do that through like Facebook groups and stuff like that. But I mean, there's so many people connected to so many groups that you don't know what's the white noise or what's noise and what's not.
Yeah.
But definitely, absolutely, this whole community thing, and I'm still working on it. But I definitely want to get kids on the show talking from their perspective, because again,
Wow.
this thing about sort of kids, it's sort of like we talk about it as adults, but how about we help, you don't need to look too far to find a teenager who's struggling. Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
we're going to have to search far and wide, and give them a voice. Talk to them. Let's get an insight as to exactly what's going on. Yeah, you know what? I may have jumped, when we go back to the whole gaming thing, I may have jumped into the water to have a bit of a splash around when it comes to gaming and understand kids, but I'm just playing at the moment. You've got, I'm nowhere entrenched like that kids are living and breathing this every day. I was a kid a little while ago. I mean, a little while ago. But I grew up in a time where internet came when I was like 17,
Yeah.
right? Not fully entrenched. So I would definitely, I'd definitely like to get more kids. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable giving the control of interviewing. Definitely not live, but I'm sure,
We
especially
have
from
spoken about getting our
my,
kids on and sharing
we
their
have,
ideas.
as and Jackie's
Because
just
I
reminded
think,
us. Thank you.
yes, I think Elijah is hilarious. So I used to do these little, I don't know, just, I don't even think I ever did anything with them, but I used to record and say, Lige, what's your best advice for parents out there? Or it just, some of the things that come out of that kid's mouth just explodes my mind. I go, wow, you are amazing.
That would
He has
be
schooled me so
hilarious if there was kids interviewing us.
much.
Wow. Okay.
Or
But
kids
I
teaching
definitely
us.
think. What's that?
Yeah. Or our kids teaching us about
Yes.
life. The little, I feel like their minds at this age and stage are less tainted by pain and by programming of the world and all that sort of stuff. Some of the innocent, beautiful things that come out of my kid's mouth, I just go, oh, I hope you never lose that. Please don't lose that. Oh,
Yep.
so beautiful.
It certainly is. Well, it's been our first live stream. It's been brilliant. I think we could definitely do some more of these when we can get some more people involved. I want to thank Jackie for all of the questions.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. It's been amazing. Thanks for engaging with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, we've been loving it. So I think what we'll do now is we'll say au revoir or bye bye or sayonara or zaijian, depending on what language you want to do it in, and we'll see you next week on probably a pre-recorded episode, but it's going to be a good one nevertheless.
Yeah, thanks for all of your support, guys. Thanks for coming along on the journey with us, and we can't
Absolutely.
wait to see where it takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.